Fact is, there are some verses in the Bible that I wish weren't in there. Quite a few, actually. And this passage is probably one. As you probably heard, verse 10 is one I'm not real fond of. We also gave you the rule that if you don't work, you don't eat. But this was a part of a letter written to the church in Thessalonica. How many of you have been to Thessalonica? Anybody? And I mean, it's still there. It's the second largest city in Greek. And on a recent survey, it was listed as one of the great party cities, the fifth in the world. Thessalonica, Greece, is the fifth greatest party city. Would you like to know the others? There is Dubai and Montreal. Who knew? No doubt about this one, right? New Orleans. And of course, now, St. Paul traveled through Thessalonica, and he established a church there, and it grew pretty rapidly. This was at the very, very beginning of the years of the first of the Christian church. The fact that it grew so rapidly drew the ire of people from, leaders from some of the other religions in the city, and they hired a gang of people to create an uproar. The King James Version refers to them as certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, but the contemporary English version just calls them worthless bums. Anyhow, a group of people that they found to create a riot in the city, and they drove Paul out of the city and probably got him thinking about what terrible thing lazy, worthless bums and lewd fellows are as he ran from the city of Thessalonica. So anyhow, we have this passage here in the second letter of Paul to the church that refers to the problem of lazy people in the church. Worse than lazy, they are busybodies as well, with nothing to do but sit around and mind other people's business. That's the problem going on in the church. So Paul established a rule in that church, and he said the church would not share its food with people who wouldn't work. And he says it again here. It's been used and quoted often since then, and has been used to establish social policy. It certainly seems reasonable. If you won't help, you don't get the benefits. But it's never, ever quite that simple. Having been told throughout my childhood that I was lazy, with the implication that laziness was a great sin, I got the point when it was told that. I'm sensitive to this issue of laziness. Turns out I wasn't lazy at all. I was demotivated, or differently motivated. More on that in a little bit. Here's why I really don't like this passage, is because it's so frequently misused. It's used to back up the argument that we should stop, or at least cut, welfare benefits of one kind or another. Recently, in the United States, cut the amount of money that we were willing to spend on food stamps that a family gets. It was outrageously high, apparently. Sometimes families were getting as much as $4 a day to help with food. Can you imagine what? So naturally, what we did as a nation, this was not that long ago, we cut food stamps from $4 a day, which everybody knows is far too much money. So now $3 a day, which is probably still too much, wouldn't you agree? You go grocery shopping, $3 will get you a loaf of bread, maybe. When this happened, to read some comments, you would think that people are so overfed on the $4 a day that they have decided, well, I'll just quit working and sit around and not do anything because I get everything I need for free. So now we've cut it to $3, and the reason we do this is because of an idea, an insidious idea floating around, that the reason people are poor is because they are lazy. And the reason this nation is in debt is because we give too much money to those lazy poor folks. And when we talk about balancing the budget, we always seem to take a look at the aid to the poor. There is also corporate welfare, and there are benefits to the wealthy that are part of our system, but we don't seem to think that's an important part of the reason why we are in debt. We don't blame that for causing it. We blame this. And we use this Bible verse sometimes to say that it is right to deny help to the hungry. It doesn't talk about, the Bible doesn't say anything about dependency. It's a very specific direction, however. Very specific direction to a specific situation. This is one of the dividing points often between conservative Christians and progressive Christians. For some reason, the idea that cutting aid to the poor is the right thing to do has invaded conservative Christian churches. And it's a generalization, of course, to say that, but there is some truth to it. Many Christians I have seen are lacking in compassion and unwilling to are willing to repeat the mantra that people are poor because they are lazy. Let me make this clear. Poverty is caused not by laziness, but by the socioeconomic situation. Poverty is not caused by laziness, but by the economic situation of the times. Of course, there are people who get lazy. There are always people who are lazy. Maybe you or I would be lazy too if we hit the lottery. But poverty is caused not by laziness, but by the socioeconomic system. It is caused by an economic system that allows some people to gather a great amount of wealth and others to starve. And that is the state of our world today. 80% of the world's population today lives on less than $12 a day. 80%. 1% of the world's population owns 50% of the world's wealth. Do you think that there are 6 billion poor people in this world because there are 6 billion lazy people? You think that? I don't care how industrious you are. If you're born in Haiti, you're going to be poor. That's the way it is. And if you want to find out what hard work is, try being poor. Well, have I said enough on this subject? It's awfully close to politics, isn't it? Just don't use this verse to demean or disenfranchise the poor, because it has something else that it was teaching. Here's what was happening in Thessalonica. They had a theological reason to be lazy. They were of the belief that Jesus was going to come back any day now, very soon. There are many interpretations of this, but it was frequently taught in the early church that Jesus was like a few days away from returning, that everything was going to be changed, the whole world was going to be turned upside down any day now. And in Thessalonica, this teaching took hold with the people. And they got thinking about it and began to wonder things like, why am I getting up and going to my job when Jesus is going to return and change everything? Or surely by the end of the week, if not today. Why are we weeding our gardens when the whole world is about to be changed? Some people may have even seen it as a lack of faith to get up and go to work. If Jesus is going to come back in the next few days, why would you be wasting your time on other things? Paul continually pointed out to people that we live in two worlds. There is a world in which God is in charge and there is peace and justice, and there is this physical world in which there is hunger and destruction, and we have to live in both at once. So were the people of Thessalonica lazy, or were they demotivated? Was it just that they didn't feel like working, or did they see no point in it? I've had many people who were accused of laziness, or felt that they themselves were lazy, though they were actually really demotivated. Let me explain about that. Here are 5 quick things that cause people to stop working. Number 1 is failure. If you try and fail and try and fail and try and fail and try and fail, what might happen next? Yeah, you're going to give up. You're going to quit. You're not going to try anymore. A problem in schools in which a student is struggling means that there's enough failures, they give up. It happens all the time. It's not that they're lazy, it's just that the system doesn't work for them, whatever it is, and they are unable to continue, and they give up. Another reason people stop working is impossibility. The task is just too complex or too difficult. I had a daughter who had a very, very messy room. And it got to the point where we told her she had to clean it up. And she went up there, and she would be up there for hours, and nothing would get done. Why? You're overwhelmed. So you're just overwhelmed by this. Has anybody ever been in that situation? You took on a job and it was just simply too big to do it. It's not that you were lazy, it's that you didn't have the tools or the skills or the ability to do what it was. And that's another reason sometimes that people give up, because it's impossible. That what we are asking of them is impossible. Sometimes people don't work because of ignorance. They're just unaware of what needs to be done, or have never been taught how to do it. Poverty that lasts generations can cause people to be ignorant about how to participate in a society where people work. If you grew up in a home that was poor, and they grew up in a home that was poor, and it's gone on for generations, you may simply not know how to make it work in this society. Another reason, corruption. If you work hard and somebody else gets the benefit, what's the point? Don't you ever think that? You work hard, somebody else gets the benefit, why would you do it? Probably you are wearing clothes today that were made in some factory overseas. Check your label when you get home. Do you think the workers in those places where your clothing is made are lazy? You think they're lazy? But they're poor. It's not because of laziness, it's because of the corruption of the system. It is the obligation of employers to treat their employees well, but when the system is corrupt, the workers sometimes resist by not working. And then, of course, there's pointlessness. I've been a substitute teacher, and as a substitute teacher, there's one thing you learn about: pointless work. You are usually left, you walk into the classroom and there's a folder on the desk, and inside that is what? It's got a plan, and it involves busy work. It is something to keep the students busy. They're not going to learn anything from it. That's not the goal. The goal is just to keep the students in their seats and quiet. And do you think they know that's what it's about? Yes, they do. And how does that make them feel? All right? So this is one of the problems. When work becomes pointless, you can get lazy with it too. And I think that was a big piece of the problem I had in school when I was a kid. I just couldn't see any point in doing some of the work that was being assigned to me. Some of it made sense, some of it didn't. Well, at the end of this passage, Paul points out one more thing. One thing that should keep us motivated. He says this: you should never get tired of doing good. I don't care so much if you're lazy when you go to work. You probably shouldn't be, but I'm not worried about that. I don't even care if you come to church and you're kind of lazy when you sit here, although that's not great either. I just don't want you to be lazy with your whole life and think that there's nothing that you can do. Think that your work is pointless, or the things that you do. I don't want you to get tired of doing good. Now, let me take that back. I don't want you to stay tired of doing good, but I do want you to get tired of doing good. I want you to attempt to do things that are difficult enough that sometimes you're going to fail, and I want you to be tired about that, but I don't want you to give up. You should keep motivated. Don't get tired of doing good. Don't get demotivated, and don't be lazy. Don't spend your time talking about other people and what they are doing. Do good. Do good. Jesus might be coming back tomorrow. But right now, today, there's some good you can do. Pitch in. Do your part to help. Make the world a better place. Do your ministry. Remember ministry? Ministry is your service, the thing that you do. Have you got some money? Do something good with it. Help support your poorer brothers and sisters. Reach out to those in need. You can do something. Everyone can. Can you give thousands of dollars? Give it. Have you nothing but a cup of cold water to share? Give it. Not even that? Then a pat on the back, a smile, a kind word. All of these things matter, and all of them can be given. Give your life to ministry. Become a pastor or a missionary or a teacher, or do something with your life that makes it possible for you to do good every day. Or just spare a moment to ministry, a simple act of kindness or compassion. So you've seen this, right? It's popular. I remember one of those jobs that I had that really was kind of pointless. I spent all my day cleaning floors that were not dirty to begin with. I'm not sure why I was hired for this job, but that's what I did, and I got demotivated by this pointless work. But one of the things I knew was if the boss was coming around, look busy. But that's not good enough. I don't want to do that. How about this? Jesus is coming. Be busy. Do the work of Christ in this world, whatever you can, however you can. Find a way to do it and do that. Don't worry about the other things as much, perhaps, but do that at least. Okay? Okay? Okay. Amen.
You've been listening to a sermon by Reverend Stephen Carnahan, pastor of High Street Congregational Church in Auburn, Maine. If you feel inspired by what you hear, we invite you to join us in person for worship services every Sunday morning, beginning at 10 o'clock. Of course, you can always listen to Steve's sermons on the web. New sermons are posted every Monday by midday. Please take a moment to explore this website for more information about our church, or visit our Facebook page at High Street Congregational Church, UCC. We hope that God's presence will be known to you every hour of every day, and that God's blessings will rest upon you now and always. See you next week.